Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode in Career Services Connecting Keelhaulers series. Today, we are joined by several of our IBL cadets who participated in their co-op in summer 2021. We have Nathaniel Young, Karla Gomez, and Tyler Clarke joining me today. Cadets, thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule to sit down and talk for a second. So we will start with Nathaniel, since he is the one who is unmuted right now. Where did you intern? What was your title? And then how did you secure your internship?
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having me. So this summer, I interned at Collins Aerospace, which is a subsidiary of Raytheon Technologies. My title was logistics intern as an IBL. This was right up my alley and in my expertise area. I started applying, I would say around late November throughout December. And with the help of Career Services and through a helpful conversation with Dean Meyer, he mentioned this company called Collins Aerospace, which I've never heard of, which was up in Fairfield. I applied and the logistics manager reached out to me for an interview. I conducted extensive research, went through the interview, and then got an offer about a day after.
Nice. Karla, we'll go to you next.
So I interned for a company called GSC Logistics this summer. They're a logistics company. My title was logistics intern, but they brought us in specifically to work on a process matrix project. And I got the job through Career Services. I read one of the emails, I applied, and I got an interview. I went, and then I got a second interview, and I was hired about a day after.
I didn't unmute myself, but that was a quick process for that GSC one kind of happened. Tyler, what about yourself?
Yeah, I interned at Norton Lilly International, the Port of Oakland. I was basically trained as a marine agent, and that's what I worked as throughout the summer. I secured the internship actually through a contact I had at Metroports, who I met during a career fair last fall. I didn't know who Norton Lilly was at the time, but I was talking with the Metro, trying to get an internship with them around January, February, and they weren't really sure what they were going to do this summer. And because my contact actually was a graduate from Cal Maritime, he didn't want to leave me hanging. So he sent me this application for Norton Lilly. I applied. I got an interview around May and got hired a few days after that.
Nice. Use that alumni network for sure. They'll always help out. Tyler, we'll stick with you for this next question then. Just what was your schedule like? Both, how many days a week were you working? What hours a day, and so on and so forth.
The schedule was actually really nice. It was probably one of the best parts about the job for me. The day-to-day tasks they would give you, it was up to your own discretion on when you wanted to start, how you wanted to plan out your day. So I was basically boarding, and, get on a ship, get certificates, make customs runs, enter clear the vessel, get files ready. So you kind of could choose when you want to come into the office. I usually came around 8 or 9 o'clock, and usually I could finish around 1, 2. And then the rest of the day was just keeping up with emails, answering any phone calls. In terms of a weekly schedule, we worked about every other weekend, and then during the week, probably around 3 or 4 days during the week. So if we worked on the weekends, we get 2 days off during the week. If we didn't, then we worked the 5 days.
Karla, we'll go to you next.
So for GSC, I worked typically a 40-hour week, but it was dependent on when I wanted to work. So some days it was 6 to 2:30. Other days I would come in at 9 and leave around 6. And they also let me choose how many hours I wanted to work. So it depended on what the workload was like. But typically I would only work 8 to 9 hours.
And Nathaniel.
So I had a 40-hour work week, Monday through Fridays. I would get to the office at 7:30 and I would leave at 4 with a 30-minute lunch break in the middle. Starting off in the morning, we would have to process some shipping filings to prepare for the shipments that would go out later in the day. Depending on what was going on in the week, my manager would sign me up for these trainings that would be going on for company members. And almost every single day at 3:30, right before work ended, we would have a FedEx/UPS pickup daily routine. So we would be sending out packages on a daily basis around 3:30. So we'd be ready for that and just be dealing with truck drivers at that time.
Gotcha. All right. Well, you guys kind of already started dipping into the next question that I had, and Karla, we'll let you take this one first. But some just overall typical tasks that you had, were these projects you guys were working on, were they smaller projects, or were, Karla, you kind of mentioned a bigger long-term project that GSC has you working on? So kind of dive in a little bit more to kind of the day-to-day of what you were doing.
So the project I was working on, it lasted the whole internship. So it was a 10-week project. We divided it up into sections, but it was a process matrix project, which was for continual improvement of the company. It went through massive growth throughout quarantine. So they needed to kind of fix up their processes and make sure that everything was to standard. We divided the project into 2 weeks. The first week was just collecting all of the processes from the 70 plus employees. And then the second week, we worked with them to create SOP, both written and then video formats as well. And that took the whole 10 weeks.
Did you have to present at the end? Then at the end
Yeah,
of the
I
internship?
gave 2 presentations, one to career services and then the other one to the executive board.
Nice. Nathaniel, what about you? What were kind of those typical tasks and then projects and stuff?
So as a logistics intern, I got to see different departments and see how they operated. So I spent a good amount of time in the packaging department, and with Collins Aerospace, we were packaging hazardous materials. And so they had to be specifically packaged depending on who it was being shipped out to. In addition to working with the packaging department, I also worked with the shipping documents department, which made sure that we had the right classifications that needed to be sent out in accordance with U.S. Department of Transportation regulations. But most of my time was spent in the shipping department, and that was filing stuff with the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, in addition to filing paperwork in our own system. Some projects that I took on were these 2-week-long value stream mapping projects. At the site in Fairfield, we actually had a $10 million backlog of product, and the senior leadership assembled a very diverse team with employees from all departments to try to see where we could resolve the backlog and see where we can cut non-value added processes. So throughout those 2 weeks, we would just go around the entire manufacturing site and ask employees how they perform their day-to-day task and see which parts that we could cut out that were taking too long or that were just holding things up. And at the end of each of those weeks, we had to give a presentation to senior leadership so that they can decide how to move forward and address these issues.
Nice. And Tyler, what about you?
So I kind of touched on a little bit in the previous question. They started me out with most of the legwork, boarding ships, doing customs runs. Once I got familiar with that, they started giving me my own ships to be an agent for. They would plan it out by a monthly basis. So they give you like 7 or 8 ships for the month. And that's really where the bulk of the work comes in. A lot of it is kind of being a middleman, scheduling different services and different requirements for the ships. So confirming berthing and departure times with the terminals, booking the pilots and tugs, any other services they might need, like crew changes. They need crew changes, they'll need transportation to the airport. With COVID, we need to do COVID tests before they get on a plane, so we have to schedule that. Any parole appointments with customs, things like that. So a lot of the job is, answering phone calls, calling people, answering emails. It's kind of an on-call job in that sense. You really have to be diligent or you'll miss a lot. Like there's hundreds of emails coming in every day. So that's a big part of the job.
We're gonna go a little off script on you guys, but Nathaniel and Karla, you guys both mentioned having to present to the executive teams. How is that kind of experience being interns and presenting to the higher ups?
I can start off answering that question. So luckily I was working with another logistics intern, but being in a room full of, supervisors and managers, presenting to even higher managers and other senior leaders, there was a sense of like a little bit of pressure because you wanted all the stuff that you were going to present to be correct. Otherwise, you would be misinforming the senior leadership, and that would cause them to possibly make a bad decision because of what you say. So, I would, write out a script on what the talking points I needed to hit, and I would double check and practice and check with my other supervisors, like, hey, is this okay to say? And they would be like, yeah, that's okay to say, and make sure you don't forget to say this. So a little bit of pressure, but it was a really good experience.
And then for me, I worked with 2 other Cal Maritime students. So that was really nice to have someone to go up there and present with. We were a little nervous, but at that point, we'd been working on the project for so long, we knew it like the back of our hand. So it was easy to talk about and also to answer questions.
Nice. And Tyler, for you ending up going on your own vessels and having to do that, how'd you kind of get comfortable with that and, kind of take that ownership and authority role?
That was definitely a learning experience for me. The kind of best way to do it is just kind of go in. Like I shadowed them for a couple of weeks, and that was helpful, but it wasn't until I really started doing it myself that I got comfortable with it. You definitely have to be, a little stern sometimes. You're dealing with people that English isn't their first language, so you have to get used to that, which is a good experience. That was one of the things I really liked about it was that I got to meet, people from all over the world. And also getting used to different accents and dialects is going to be super important, especially if I'm working in an international business environment. So yeah, I think that definitely more positives than negatives though, for sure.
So we'll transition a little bit now to how Cal Maritime, the school helped you prepare. So Tyler, we'll start with you, but so any of your classes or studies so far that did prepare you specifically for this internship with Norton Lilly, and then anything else, beyond just the specific classes, but maybe clubs or sports or activities or the core things of that nature that help prepare you for the internship?
So I only had 1 year at Cal Maritime before I did the internship because I'm a transfer. There's a few business classes that definitely kind of prepared me for office environment work, like an environment of modern business. And then I'm actually taking a class this semester. I think it's new for IBL students, port and terminal ops. I think that's definitely going to be interesting to learn because I go in the ports every day, but I didn't really get to see the whole operation, especially the cargo and how all that works. So I'm definitely interested in that. If I end up doing agency after I graduate, then I think that'll be super helpful.
Nice. And Karla, I know you were a transfer as well, so it might be similar to Tyler, but kind of anything from Cal Maritime that helped prepare you for working with GSC?
Yeah, there was one class in particular where I kept referencing everything we learned, but information and systems with Shackman, most of the project was housed on Excel. We did so many pivot tables, and that was something that he taught really well. So it was a class that really helped me throughout the internship.
Yeah, I want to echo what Karla said. Information systems management taught by Dr. Shackman is an immensely invaluable class that all IBL students they take, and they see that it's the most useful when it comes to applying to real life work. But some other classes that I took that were really helpful were global logistics taught by Dr. Picard. I have this written down. Operations management also taught by Dr. Picard. Quantitative managerial methods taught by Dr. Shackman, and obviously statistics. But like Karla said, a lot of Excel came in handy.
And before we move on, both for Tyler and Karla, I just being transfers, and I know last year is like probably the weirdest year ever for somebody to be a transfer, not being able to be on campus like you normally would, but any other like maybe specific transfer advice for someone that has to get a co-op at the end of that first year they're here on Cal Maritime?
Go first. Definitely go to the career fairs. I mean, I probably wouldn't have gotten my internship if I didn't go to the career fair and get those contacts. They're super helpful for learning about different companies, what they do in the industry and what you might be interested in. and start as early as possible. A lot of the internships, they start bringing out the applications in fall for next summer, which I didn't know. I wasn't prepared for. Luckily, I was able to get on track early January, February, spring. But yeah.
I would say definitely connect with career services. You guys always have job openings. Apply to as many internships as you can. You'll get one eventually. And then besides that, just be proactive and make sure you're reaching out to all of the companies you apply to see what else you can do.
Thank you. I always love hearing good things about career services. But actually, no, it means it's good to know that we're actually doing things that are helping you guys get these co-ops and stuff. Nathaniel, we'll go with you on the next question. What were some things that you weren't really prepared for that popped up on the internship? And then how did you either address them or handle them as those came about?
So I think this is something that doesn't get talked about often because it's kind of just accepted, but I think the commute, I had to drive 45 minutes in the morning and I had to wake up kind of early. So just, packing your stuff, being ready the night before, making sure your alarm's set, making sure your clothes are all ready, gas in the tank. The last thing you want to see is like, wake up in the morning and nothing's ready. Your lunch isn't packed. So those sorts of things. Additionally, I think coming in as an intern and working with full-time employees who've been there for years, it was kind of a challenge to adapt to their work environment because they've been there the longest, and so you had to see how they ran things and how they processed certain things in work or how they tackled issues. And it wasn't really up to, oh, this is how I want to do it. This is they've been here the longest, they know better, and this is how they've done it, and this is how they got it done. So just adapting to that was a bit of a challenge.
Karla, we'll go to you next.
I would also agree with the commute. My commute was like either an hour to an hour and a half to and from work, sometimes a little bit more. But besides that, managing other people's work, my deadlines were dependent on other people. And sometimes they didn't want to do the extra work I was giving them. So just making sure to communicate with them and also the management so that they get their work done.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I had a similar commute to Nathaniel, about 45 minutes, especially going to Oakland is pretty bad traffic. Definitely have to plan for that. I've had a few times where I was commuting and big accident put me in a pretty bad situation. Luckily, since my schedule wasn't too bad because I didn't have a deadline, but to get there on time, but I kind of start where I wanted to. And then also, yeah, I agree with Karla too, dealing with people in the office and dealing with all of the other, clients and other services that I needed to. Sometimes things got pretty stressful, especially with all the congestion in the ports now on the West Coast nowadays. Sometimes I wouldn't get confirmation for berthing or departure until like 5 hours before. So I had to scramble to book the pilots and the tugs and get all that ready. So yeah.
I got to take a page out of your guys' book and get ready the night before. I do a bad job of that sometimes, most of the time actually. But Karla, we'll go to you for this next one. At GSC, what type of guidance or mentorship did the company provide? Some, Nathaniel touched on it a little earlier, how his was a little bit more formal at certain points. Some are more informal. So kind of what was that process for you like?
At GSC, it was pretty hands-off. We met with our manager once a week, 30 minutes. He would just go over our work. But besides that, there was one employee who wasn't our manager, but he just so happened to be certified in Six Sigma. So he helped guide the project and kind of told us which direction to take it.
Nice. Nathaniel, we'll kick it to you next.
So with my internship, it was really all over the place because it really depended on the situation you were in. When I was dealing with my manager, I would, be very professional on point. But sometimes when I was working with my supervisor in the shipping department, it was a little bit more relaxed, and it was really what you made out of it. The more questions you asked, the more curious you were, the more curious you were about the processes and how to do things, the more they were interested in helping you grow and learn those things. So it was really what you made out of it.
Oh, and Nathaniel, you did say something about like company things that they set you up with, like trainings and stuff. Was that like for interns specifically, or was that all employees as a whole?
So the trainings were for full-time employees, and my manager, who oversaw the entire logistical process of the manufacturing site, whatever training that he saw fit, he would enroll me in those trainings, and then I would just sit in. So a really useful training that he enrolled me in was called Harmonized Systems Classifications, which is an entire course, it was just the first level of the course on how to classify hazardous material in the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol portal. And so that was a lot to take on. But there were around 2 or 3 other trainings, maybe around 4 other trainings that my manager enrolled me in that he saw fit, that he saw would apply to my logistics education here at Cal Maritime.
Nice. And Tyler, what about you? How was kind of the mentorship and guidance at Norton Lilly?
It was really good. Everybody in the office was super supportive. I got to shadow 3 or 4 different agents to get used to everything before I started going out on my own. Yeah, the office was really small, actually, only about 9 or 10 people in there. Manager showed up about twice a week. Since most of the work is, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of it can be done from home. So that's where a lot of people were working, especially if they didn't do a lot of the legwork. Most of the, most professionalism came when speaking with clients, boarding ships, that sort of thing. But in the office, it's pretty casual.
Nice. All right, moving on now to some favorite things about the internship, and then maybe not so much at least favorite things about the internship. And Tyler, we'll let you answer this one first.
So I think I probably touched on it a few times already, but definitely my favorite things were the ability to kind of go with my own schedule, plan things out, my daily tasks myself. That was really nice. I loved, meeting all the different people. I think most agents don't like the legwork as much, but I actually really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed going on ships, meeting people from around the world, going to the customs office, meeting those people. I met a lot of people from Cal Maritime. I met customs officer, graduate from Cal Maritime. Almost every U.S. ship I went on, there was somebody, at least one person, came from Cal Maritime. So that was really cool. And they actually hired 3 new agents while I was working at the office, all from Cal Maritime. So that was really cool. And yeah.
No least favorite at all?
Oh,
Everything was
least
great?
favorite. It was pretty great overall. Least favorite, I think I already said the congestion made things definitely pretty stressful. Like I said, with the terminals, because we have to plan things, we have to schedule things. Sometimes these ships are only in port for like 2 days. So if they need crew changes, they need tests, they need transportation, roll appointments, things can get kind of cluttered, kind of stressful. So with the congestion, that makes things hard, but that's definitely not normal. That's just because of COVID.
Gotcha. Nathaniel, what about you? Most favorite and least favorite things?
Yeah, my most favorite part about my internship was that I got to work with, I'd say, 10 other interns my age, and they were from all over the United States. So it was really fun to interact with people my age, because there's just a certain kind of interaction that, that kind of goofiness or silliness that you can only get with people your age. So it was really fun, and all the interns and we all had a great relationship. So that made the internship a lot more exciting and a lot more memorable. I'd say probably the least favorite part about my internship was there's a safety rule, because we work with energetics and explosives. We have to wear these safety goggles anytime we're on the production floor around energetics. And it became kind of a hassle where, like, I would sit down at my desk and I would need to put on my glasses, but anytime I needed to stand up, I would need to put on my safety goggles. And in addition to that, I would have to wear a mask. and so it would fog up, and it would just not be a great combination.
Definitely a challenge.
And then for me, my favorite part about the internship was definitely working as a part of an intern team. So it was fun to collaborate with other people. We all had very different opinions, so we had to meet in the middle on almost everything, but that definitely made the project and the experience a lot better. And I didn't have a least favorite thing.
No worries. We won't hold you to it. Nathaniel, we'll start with you on this one. How do you see this internship kind of fitting into your broader career goals, whether it be certain just skills you take away from it or the industry as a whole?
Yeah, I really, really appreciated Collins Aerospace for taking me in as their intern, because this internship was extremely invaluable to me. I learned multiple skills, as in like working in a team, communicating, a lot of experience in working with U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Department of Defense, defense contract management agencies. But most importantly over that, it gave me more knowledge and experience in the logistics field as a whole. And as I graduate this year, I can feel confident applying to jobs that maybe in the defense industry, or it could be in the logistics industry. My experience at Collins Aerospace really gave me that confidence and experience to take on any employment opportunities that I see after I graduate.
Nice. Karla, we'll go to you next.
I would say that it helped guide me in the right direction. It was interesting to see logistics in the real world. We read about it in textbooks, but to see it actually happening, it's really different. And it also kind of pointed me in the direction. I definitely want to get my Six Sigma certification after college. So that'll definitely be my next step.
I'll definitely have to echo a lot of the things that Nathaniel and Karla said. Super invaluable experience, probably the best I have as of right now. Looks really good on my resume. And I definitely gained a much broader perspective of port operations and kind of how that plays into international trade and business overall. I was also offered a position after I graduate, like a management training position, which I definitely plan on taking up. And they also said that I can come back in the meantime during my breaks during school if I want to help out at the port anytime I want. So that was really cool. I really appreciated that.
Something that I want to add really quickly that I think Karla and Tyler can both attest to is that the internship provided all of us with connections, and that's really, really important as we graduate and try to find these new roles. The connections that I found through LinkedIn, through people that I work with at my company, those, you can't put a price on that, and that was probably really, really helpful to like future career goals.
Yeah, and you guys aren't the only ones to echo that. I've interviewed GSMA and shoreside engineering cadets in the last week, and they said the same thing, even down to meeting Nathaniel, especially like you were talking about 10 interns from all over the country, and something that may not pay off right now because you guys are all in the same boat, but down the line, getting to talk to them about the different companies that they work at and how that can, develop into the future of, that professional network. So always networking for sure, whether with peers or those above you. Well, that will bring us to our last question then, and we'll start with Karla. But overall advice that you would give to cadets who will be looking for internships in this upcoming year, whether it be about processes, things to expect, just little tips after having your internship that you feel like that it would be good for them to know.
The best advice I can give is, even if you don't hear back from a company right away, don't give up. Just keep applying. Make sure that you stay consistent on applications, meeting deadlines, and then also brushing up on your resume skills. So making sure that looks good. Career Services is always there to help us with that. And besides that, reaching out to recruiters to see what you can do to secure a job at other companies as well.
Tyler, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, definitely meet with Career Services. They'll get your resume in order. That was definitely helpful. And also, getting ready for interviews. Career fair is also super great. Like I said before, you'll meet a lot of people there and get a better idea of maybe what you want to do. And like Karla said, just keep applying to places. I applied throughout the entire spring semester. I didn't start hearing back until like the last month around May from people. Even to jobs you may not think you'll actually get. Like I applied to an accounting internship in Stockton, which they actually gave me an offer for, but I ended up going Norton Lilly because I think that was more in line with my career goals. But yeah.
Some advice that I can give to students as they apply to internships is to definitely apply early. When I started applying in November, I got a lot of comments from my friends from other schools. They're like, "You're applying way too late," and I was like, "Really?" Another thing is to keep good track of the internships that you apply to. I personally had a Google spreadsheet which had links, deadlines, contact information, titles. So it's really important to keep track of those places that you apply to, because when you start hearing back from maybe a recruiter or two, you might get confused or forget, like, wait, which position was this? And most importantly, definitely talk to Ryan, talk to career services. They've helped me prepare for my interview, which was virtual. And I don't think I could have gone the internship without, practicing and contacting Ryan here from career services.
I also have another colleague whose name is also Ryan, and he will also help you guys as well. But I think you all gave great advice right there. I mean, definitely don't get discouraged. You can all attest and talk to anybody else, and a lot more rejection or no replies than actually getting those interviews. So keep sticking with it. Nathaniel, your friends did say have some, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say November is late, but there's stuff that's starting to open right now in September, October. So just knowing who's out there early for kind of that first wave before it gets to Thanksgiving, and then picking back up again in early January for sure. Also definitely keeping track of who you apply to, because I mean, I've had those calls before where it's like, oh man, I can't even remember which one you are after I've applied to 30 different places. So keeping track will definitely help. But with that, I don't have anything else. If anyone else has any last things to say, throw it in now. But definitely appreciate you all taking some time out of your day to help to pass down your guys' experiences to the cadets that are coming behind you.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's also it for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a good one.